This is a wonderful old picture of Chard before the First World War actually began. In the distance, you can see the clock tower of the Guild Hall, but it's the building just on the far right there with the two windows that we're going to take a look at first of all. So this is a picture taken from a similar angle today, and you can see that building on the far right hand side now with the two windows, which is still part of Chard High Street today. Well, if you went back a long time ago, then that was the gatehouse of the brewery in Chard called Mitchell and Tom's. And we use entries like this census entry here to actually find these places.
120 years ago exactly, Mitchell and Tom's brewery was on this spot in Chard. And from the 1901 census, we know that two doors further up the high street were living the Mayne family. The Mayne family were living next to the Black Horse pub that was in Chard, which has been knocked down today. That Mayne family, one member of the family, Charles Percy Mayne, became involved in the story of the Great War. The 1901 census tells us that Charles was only 9 years old. But when the First World War started 13 years later, he would have been a 22-year-old man. And he went to fight in the Great War. Sadly, Charles lost his life. He died at the Battle of Loos in 1915. And his name on the war memorial behind me is one of the places that we can see him.
And this is Charles Percy Mayne. This is a photograph from the Chard and Ilminster News in 1915.
It's incredible, really, how men who gave their lives in the Great War, their names can appear actually in more than one place. This is another place in Chard where Charles Percy Mayne is remembered. His name on this war memorial, similar to the one at St Mary's Churchyard, is just listed as Percy Mayne. This is probably because his family knew him by his middle name, and it just gives us a moment where we can imagine what his parents used to call their son. I'm actually now in Ilminster, outside the parish church in Ilminster itself. There's another place where Charles's name is remembered, and that's inside this church. When he went to the grammar school in Ilminster, the grammar school eventually, when it was knocked down in 1971, presented a plaque of the boys who had attended the school and who gave their lives in the Great War to the church, which is actually inside the church still today.
And this is the plaque within Ilminster Church, and in those two columns at the top right you can see the name C.P. Mayne. And there is in fact one other place where the name of Charles Percy Mayne is recorded. This is actually St Paul's Cathedral in London, the greatest cathedral in London itself. When Charles left Ilminster Grammar School, he moved up to London and worked in Oxford Street. And in St Paul's Cathedral, in the middle column there, 4 names up from the bottom, you can see the words Mayne Percy Mayne, who used to sing in a choir in the cathedral itself.